sometimes controversial, always politically incorrect, and pro-life without exception, without compromise, and without apology. It's the Pro-Life America podcast with your hosts, Sarah Waits and the president of Life Dynamics, Mark Crutcher.
Welcome to the show, guys. As you heard, I'm Mark Crutcher, and lurking nearby is my co-host, Sarah Waits.
Hello, everyone. We are on our 101st episode of our show. Can you believe it?
Wow.
101 episodes with me.
Yeah.
You've made it this far.
I have. That's a testament to my...
endurance.
Yeah, endurance. Anyway, Sarah, I kind of have a feeling that we're in that kind of a no man's land where everybody's just kind of waiting.
Well, we're not really in no man's land because right now is the beginning of the midterm elections.
Right.
So we're not exactly in a holding period. Now is when things are going to start to get interesting.
We're in a holding period on this Roe versus Wade deal. We all believe, and I strongly believe, that it's a done deal. If there was ever a chance that the 5 people who appear to be ready to vote to overturn Roe, if there was ever a chance that they were going to change their mind, the pro-aborts ended that by leaking this thing. The Democrat Party was behind this, I guarantee you 100%, and they overplayed their hand because they solidified these people. They couldn't change their minds right now, even if they wanted to. So we're just kind of waiting on the other shoe to drop so we can get on with whatever's going to be done. Right now, we're just kind of all holding our breath and waiting. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things going on that we need to talk about. We're seeing a lot of corporations now coming out saying, oh, we're going to pay for abortions and we're going to pay for our employees to travel. And
mostly what I'm seeing is companies saying that they're willing to pay for travel.
Travel expenses.
Starbucks was the most recent one, but they're certainly not the only one. In fact, I would argue that a lot of companies that people shop from on a daily basis or use in their daily lives are companies that are paying for that. Other companies include Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Citigroup, Yelp, Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, Levi Jeans Company, Chobani, the yogurt maker.
Yeah.
They'll pay for travel for your abortions.
There's a bunch of them. And the point is that a lot of these corporations now are casting their lot with the abortion lobby. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be calling within the pro-life movement for boycotts. Mm-hmm. And, we have historically been spectacularly unsuccessful in our boycott strategy. And there's a very good reason for it.
Yeah.
We need to adopt a completely different approach to this boycott issue. When the United Auto Workers contract is up, and it used to be just the big 3, GM, Ford, and Chrysler, we'll just use them as an example. Mm-hmm. When the UAW contract was up, they didn't boycott, in other words, strike, all of them. They picked out a target and struck them. And then when that target caved and the contract was signed, then the other ones jumped on board.
Because they knew it was coming.
We have organizations out there that put out a list of people that have some sort of connection with the abortion industry. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to not do business with any of these. Mm-hmm. And the list, if you go down, there's thousands of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And there's no way, it's not physically possible for us to boycott all of these people.
Not simultaneously. Absolutely not.
I said one time that if you're going to go by these lists that say, here, don't do business with any of these people, you're going to be standing somewhere naked as a jaybird in a field growing your own food. That's the only way.
Provided the seed manufacturer that you're growing the food from doesn't support abortion.
Right. The fact is we can't do that. It's not physically possible. You can't go out and go to eat anywhere. You can't go to any store and buy anything.
Some of the biggest supporters of the abortion industry and a lot of eugenics type programs is Bill and Melinda Gates, who got his money from Microsoft.
Right.
How many people around this country have Windows running computers with Microsoft products?
And you and I are sitting here right now looking at 2 Apple computers that we have.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to take these out and put them on the curb. And, this is a very expensive computer. 2 of them we've got right here, and we've got 2 more in your office and Sheila's office.
What are we going to do? Are we going to get a Windows computer? Can't do that.
So
I guess we could run Linux.
So from a pragmatic standpoint, it's not possible. But let me tell you what is possible. And this is what we need to be doing, is taking our cues from the UAW, United Auto Workers, and other major unions. The leadership of the pro-life movement needs to come together and say, we're going to pick out one company and we picket them and we boycott them.
Yeah.
And we do everything that we can to bring pressure on that company to get out of the abortion business. If they don't, we keep it up. If they do, we pick another target. And so that everybody that's out there that's giving money to these baby killers knows that they could be the next one.
And it's a lot easier to use the collective power of the pro-life movement if you pick one target as opposed to multiple ones.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick at multiple companies all at the same time.
Yeah, and you dilute your power. You dilute it exponentially, thinner than what it was.
Especially because you'll get pro-lifers who will say, well, I can't boycott this company, but I'll boycott the other two.
Right.
And you'll have another pro-lifer say, well, I can boycott this one, but I can't boycott the others.
And the sad thing for me is I've been suggesting this for years to other leadership and to the rank and file pro-life movement, and I've gotten very little play on it. And what I'd like to see is all the people out there that are pro-life, that are supporting some pro-life group, whether it's us or it's, Operation Rescue or it's National Right to Life or it's Priests for Life or whoever it might be. I'd like to see them start putting pressure on their group to join in this effort. I know that the pro-life movement has a lot of infighting and stupid turf battles, and they always have, and they're always going to. But at least we should be able to come together on this issue and say, okay, we're going to put together a panel made up of the whoever leaders we want to make it up, or rank and file pro-lifers or whoever, and see who we're going to boycott.
Well, if you just get enough voices out there saying, we're going to boycott this one company, conservatives, pro-lifers, they'll jump on board. They can do that. You just got to get the word out, and you just got to be organized about it and say, this is who we're going to go after.
Whoever you support, whatever pro-life group, you don't need to call me and say, you need to support this because it's my idea and I've supported it for years. But let's see if we can't get people to get behind this idea of having targeted boycotts rather than blanket boycotts. A lot of the rules have changed when Roe falls. One of the things that's happened is the rhetoric that we use to fight the abortion battle just became exponentially more important. And the reason for that is very simple. What the overturn of Roe basically does is it takes us out of an environment where all that mattered is what the Supreme Court said. What the American people believed about abortion or what they wanted to do about abortion was irrelevant. As long as the Supreme Court was superior in this thing and they made all the decisions. Now what we have with Roe being overturned, when it is overturned, is that the Supreme Court becomes irrelevant and public opinion is what changes.
Because public opinion forms law.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
what
foundation of law, is public opinion.
Public opinion is what drives the state legislatures, where this issue is going to be headed. So what that means is you could have made an argument before that when we argued with somebody or we tried to push our position with someone, it really didn't make that much difference, because even if we won them over to the pro-life position, as long as the Supreme Court was calling all the shots, their opinion didn't matter. Now their opinion is all that matters.
Well, see, I would say that's probably wrong, because it's those people that take cases like this to the Supreme Court, which gets them to take a second look at Roe.
Yeah,
so
but that's one person out of 10 million. So
all it takes is one.
Well, yeah. Anyway, that's one of the motivations behind this new Life Dynamics project that we're working on, is to come up with not only arguments that are more persuasive, but are shorter, to the point, sometimes a little irreverent, sometimes a little caustic. That's my nature, and I'm writing them all, so it's going to be really cool. I'm really pumped about it. But we need to recognize that our rhetoric now becomes much more important than it ever was.
And it's during this time that we're going to be seeing the media doing a lot of fear-mongering.
What we call straw man arguments.
I call fear-mongering, you call straw man. Because it's not just putting up false arguments. It's directly designed to make people be afraid and make them feel like you're never going to have an abortion. You don't like abortion. You may not even agree with abortion. You may never even have an abortion, but you still need us. A lot of the news articles that I'm seeing right now are talking about if abortion is overturned, if Roe versus Wade is overturned, then that means that miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies, the treatment for that is going to be at risk.
So if you have a miscarriage, the police are going to be knocking on your door the next morning.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, we need to talk. We're now investigating.
Well, they're arguing that if you have a miscarriage, all of a sudden people are going to start analyzing what happened with your miscarriage. Did you have an abortion?
Yep.
Here's just a few of the headlines that have come out recently. So from the New Republic, overturning Roe could make ectopic pregnancies extremely dangerous.
Wait a minute, they're already dangerous. They kill people.
I know, right? NPR. In Texas, abortion laws inhibit care for miscarriages. Tampa Bay Times. Abortion laws could affect care for miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies. Now, in this one from NPR, I'm not going to go into all the articles because they basically regurgitate the same talking points. But they like to focus on Texas because Texas is really the catalyst for all this stuff, right?
Right. I would argue Texas is usually the catalyst for basically anything decent. But go ahead.
It says one Texas law passed last year lists several medications as abortion-inducing drugs and largely bars their use for abortion after the 7th week of pregnancy. But 2 of those drugs, mifepristone and mifepristone, are the only drugs recommended in the American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologist guidelines for treating a patient after an early pregnancy loss. It goes on later on to say, but now, in Texas, the new laws are creating uncertainties that may deter some doctors and other providers from offering optimal miscarriage treatment.
Well, here's the thing people need to understand. If they overturn Roe, what happens is it basically returns us to the pre-Roe environment. And I would challenge any one of these people. I used to do this years ago when there were a lot of debates on abortion when I would be doing them. And the pro-aborts would bring up these things even back in those days.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd say, wait a minute. I might buy into your argument a little bit if you can provide me the name of one woman to whom this happened prior to Roe. Back when abortion was illegal, prior to Roe versus Wade.
Can you give me a name?
Can you give me the example? Just give me a name or 5 names. Surely, if this is going to be a big problem, then it happened to hundreds and maybe thousands of women. Can you just tell me who they were?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that because when I was reading these articles on ectopic pregnancies and they're saying, oh, this is dangerous for women with ectopic pregnancies, they're talking about women being prescribed mifepristone or mifeprex to deal with the ectopic pregnancy. Now, typically when that happens, a woman goes to the doctor and he decides whether the best course is medication or surgery. It may be that surgery is the way it has to go. But they're saying that pharmacists are going to be refusing to prescribe those medications in the case of ectopic pregnancy. In these articles, there's 2 different things that they reference. One of them, it says that in the Austin area, several OBGYNs received a letter from a pharmacy in late 2021 saying it would no longer fill the drug methotrexate in the case of ectopic pregnancy, citing the recent Texas laws. However, there's no link to the actual letter, so you can't see what the letter says. Right. The other
you're
example,
not suggesting that the abortion lobby would lie about something, make up something like that.
No, of course not.
No.
And the other one, it says a family physician in Sweetwater, Texas, no longer sends mifepristone prescriptions to the local Walmart. Since the new laws took effect, she says that the pharmacists a handful of times have declined to provide the medication citing the new law, despite the doctor writing the prescription to treat miscarriage. Let's just assume for a minute this is legit and not a load of BS.
That's a big assumption. But
that's a big assumption.
Well, here's the thing. Every one of these concerns are very easily rectified.
Yeah.
There's no need to kill millions of babies in order to avoid those problems.
Exactly.
If they exist, they can be solved. They didn't exist before Roe. You know, and back when some of these things have gone into effect here in Texas, the heartbeat bill and the SB 8 and some of the other things that have gone on here, back when those things were being debated, we were being told that women were going to be dropping dead. They're just going to be falling out of trees dead because we passed these laws. You know, since then, I have not stepped over the body of a dead woman yet.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of anybody in Texas dying because of this. So they come up with all these straw man arguments.
Like I say, it's designed for women who may not like abortion or not want abortion, but say, hey, you need us because of ectopic pregnancies and miscarriage.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
You're going to be in danger if abortion is outlawed, even if you have no intention of getting one.
So if you have a miscarriage, and the next day, 4 or 5 cops, heavily armed, show up on your front porch, you know, that's going to be the result of having passed these laws against abortion. And it's just...
It's ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous. And one of the things that's happened here is the abortion industry has told this nonsensical story that they have 70% support among the American people. If that was true, first off, they wouldn't need all these straw man arguments if that was true. But if it was true, why have they spent the last 5 decades trying to keep the abortion issue out of the legislatures and in the courts? Because if you believe that your position is supported by 70% of the American people, which they know good and well it isn't, but if they believed that that was true, they would want it in the legislatures. That's where public support or public opinion matters. But instead, they have had a brain aneurysm since that leak suggested that Roe is going to be overturned. Why? Like I said, if you think your position is supported by 70% of the public, you'd want this thing in the legislature.
You know what, though? Those articles I gave you, it's not even the most ridiculous fear-mongering article I've seen. You want to know what it is? The headline reads, "Should we delete our period tracker apps? Experts explain." Now, this is from the experts and the hard-hitting journalism of Pop Sugar. But nonetheless.
What's Pop Sugar? And what's a period tracking app?
Okay.
What the devil is that all about?
So, you know about fitness tracking apps, right?
Yeah.
They count your steps, calories burned. Well, a lot of them now, what they will do is they can also track your period. So what you do is you input how many days your period roughly is. You list your start date and end date. And then the app will actually try to tell you, hey, based on what you've given us, we think your period's about to start at X time, so you can.
So what do you get,
be
a
ready.
text message?
No, you can actually get an alert on your phone. It's not a text message.
Good
you
Lord.
get a notification.
Lord,
But there's actually some apps that are designed just for periods and fertility because women will use them so that they can try to get pregnant during their fertile windows. Anyway, so there's some apps that are just for period tracking and fertility, but there are a lot of fitness apps that have that function as well.
Good Lord.
And to answer your other question, Pop Sugar is a website that, from my experience, it's mostly for young women. But anyway, in this article, it references a Elizabeth McLaughlin, an author, an attorney, an activist, and it says that she wrote on Twitter, "If you are using an online period tracker or tracking your cycle through your phone, get off it and delete your data. If you think that your data showing when you last menstruated isn't of interest to those who are about to outlaw abortion, whew, do I have a wake-up call for you," she continued. "Combine that with location tracking information and when you last menstruated and where you are seeking health care, you have a target on your back." She also emphasized that a prosecutor can subpoena your period data from any company, and that company can be forced by a court to comply. Now, the people in this article are arguing that because period tracking apps have no HIPAA protection, you could be vulnerable to these things. So they could use your period tracking app to see when you're ovulating, track your cycle, and find out the times when you likely fall pregnant and if you didn't have a period, and use that to make their case on abortion. My experience with these apps, or what I've seen, is that they're not extremely reliable. But it just indicates the time where you might fall pregnant. You might be more fertile. There's no guarantees.
Well, first off, this is another one of these straw man arguments. I mean, obviously, this attorney, if she is one that's written this, is a stone cold idiot. I mean, that's not any argument there. And the only people dumber than her are the people that believe what she says.
Yeah.
If you believe that this is a legitimate thing, like the Department of Justice or all local police departments or the Attorney General's office in Texas here is going to put together a team of people that sit all day on these websites and look and see when women start their periods, and if they missed a period and they don't have a baby, then they must have had an abortion. You have to be dumber than a box of rocks to believe that's even feasible. You couldn't convince a 10-year-old that that's feasible. But anyway, this is typical of what they're doing right now. But anyway, the last things we need to talk about, and we need to start preparing for this post-Roe environment, and that's part of what this new LDI project that we're working on is. I want to reinforce something that I've said many, many times in the past. Not only is our arguments in favor of the unborn going to become more important now that everything's not being blocked by the Supreme Court, our voting patterns are going to be more important.
Yeah.
Who we vote for.
And as we saw a few weeks ago, the Democrats tried to get through, again, this is not the first time, but they've tried to codify Roe into federal law several times. And the last time it was, I think, 51-49, with one Democrat voting with the Republicans against 49 Democrat senators. So, I mean, this proves the importance of those positions and the people that we elect. Well,
what that means is something I've said many times, and sometimes I feel like it goes in one ear out the other.
What'd you say?
If you're I know with you and Sheila, it goes in one ear and out the other. You don't have to convince me of that.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Yeah, I've seen that a million times. I see it a million times a day. But if you're going to be pro-life, if you're going to tell me that you're pro-life and you believe the unborn child is a living human being entitled to have its life protected by law, you have to be a single issue voter.
Devil's advocate, why do you have to be a single issue voter? Why?
First off, if you believe that the unborn child is a living human being, you can't possibly believe that some other issue is more important than that. Abortion is not just another issue like tax policy or immigration or anything else.
That, yeah.
It's not just another issue. If abortion is murder, which it is, the United States is involved in the largest Holocaust in the history of the world. That's not just another issue. And if you say that it is, what you're saying is, this person over here might be pro-choice on abortion, but I really like their tax policy. Then what you're saying is, I'm willing to sacrifice babies if it'll save me money on taxes. Don't take that position and then tell me that you're pro-life.
It sounds cold and heartless to say that, but in actuality, that's what's happening. You're allowing some other issue to take precedence over unborn lives.
And literally, if you paraphrase it, what you're saying, and just what I said a moment ago, I'm willing to sacrifice babies if it'll save me money on my taxes. That's what you're saying. Or I'm willing to sacrifice babies if, and you can just fill in the blank.
Yeah.
The reason that you'd vote for somebody who's pro-choice. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you vote pro-choice, you are pro-choice.
Because you are not just condoning abortion with your vote for that person, but you're giving them the political power to continue or to open the door for even more abortions in whether it be your state, local area.
Right. And I'm telling you, this has always been an important issue, but it's central now to our future and the future of how we're going to be able to protect these babies. We have to be single issue voters, and we have to make sure that the American political establishment understands that. You can't sweet talk us anymore with talk about taxes or about Second Amendment or anything else. You can't talk to us about any of that stuff. If you're not right on this issue, you cannot be right enough on any other issue to override this one. You can't do that.
Well, I'm going to take the devil's advocate in this. Why does that matter on the local elections? So if I'm talking about city council or I'm talking about mayor, why would their position on abortion matter in those levels?
Several reasons. First off, someone's position on abortion or on the life of the unborn is a barometer of their moral values.
Yeah.
If you support the wholesale slaughter of the unborn, you have no morals. And I don't care who likes that or who doesn't like it, that's a reality. You have very sketchy morals at best, and mostly you don't have any. Well, a disproportionate number of the decisions that somebody makes in public office have a moral component to them. For example, if we declare war on somebody, that's not just a military decision, that's a moral decision. We're saying we're going to kill people and have some of our people killed for this political purpose, for whatever it might be. So that's a moral decision. When we spend money that we don't have, and we borrow money that we know we'll never be able to repay back, that's not just a financial issue, that's a moral issue.
Yeah, but what if someone's saying, not from a moral aspect, but from a practical standpoint, what does me voting for someone who's pro-choice on the city council or mayor, what impact does that really have? Why does that hurt?
Well, let's not forget the embarrassment of Texas, Austin, Texas, in Travis County. City council there voted years ago to pay for abortions. So you never know. But what I'm saying is, if this person has no better morals than to say it's okay to butcher unborn children by the millions, why on God's green earth would we put them in charge of making other moral decisions? They don't have the foundation for it. So their position is always important. Let's also remember another thing that is very crucial here. When somebody runs for public office, let's say they run for county commissioner or they run for city council or whatever, most of those people have ambitions to run for a higher office. We saw that right here in Texas with Kay Bailey Hutchison. Kay Bailey Hutchison started out running for some down ballot office in Texas, and she had a very rich husband who was able to finance her, and she's a pro-abort. And Republicans didn't think that these lower offices she was running for had anything to do with abortion, so they elected her. She kept on moving up the ranks, and the next thing you know, she's a United States Senator from Texas and a raging pro-abort. So you can't let these people be put into any positions of power.
Well, and I would argue, too, there's a lot more significance at your local levels than you realize. For example, we're talking about buffer zones in cities.
Right.
That's determined on your city level or perhaps even your state level, depending on how it's done. Funding for abortion, state level. So, I mean, there's a lot more significance than I think people really give attention to at these more local levels.
They only pay attention to it the minute it pops up and starts to affect them. Mm-hmm. But up until then, they don't think conceptually that this is what could happen. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to start doing. And as we go forward now into this environment where this issue is going to be decided by politicians rather than judges, that becomes even more crucial. We have to be single issue voters.
And even your local school board.
Especially your local school.
Because the local school board can make decisions about, can Planned Parenthood come into your classroom?
Right.
What kind of books are they reading to your kids? Does it have some of the books like Planned Parenthood recommends, talking about sex to 5-year-olds?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these positions have more power than you think.
Absolutely. They decide how we live our lives. Mm-hmm. That's true, like I said, at the city council level, school board level, county commissioners. Mm-hmm. You never know. But again, you also have to remember that stepping stone thing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll be surprised at the state offices, for example, the amount of power some of these state offices have. Like I tell you here in Texas, for example, probably the most powerful office in Texas is railroad commissioner.
And most people have no idea what the railroad commissioner actually does.
How many people would know if you said, how important do you think a railroad commissioner is?
They think it's some person who's sitting at a desk watching trains go by.
Right, and regulating what sirens they have to have or bells or whatever.
And that could be farther from the truth.
In Texas, the Railroad Commission approves oil and gas leases. Mm-hmm. Now, how important are they?
Yeah, exactly.
And you say, well, that doesn't really have anything to do with abortion. It may or it may not. But the fact is, very often those decisions involve morals more than just oil and gas. And you put somebody on there who's a pro-abort, they do not have the foundation to make moral decisions. So you're putting in a position where they're totally unqualified to do that job, even if abortion never comes up.
And this issue being single issue voters, I think is especially important if they say that they're pro-life and Democrat. The reality is, if you're voting for someone who is pro-choice, then you are condoning abortion and you are giving them the power to continue with legalized abortion.
Right.
And if you're pro-life, you can't be doing that.
You can't do that. Again, single issue voting is one of the most important things that we need to be considering now as we enter this new environment that we're going to be in the future. It's always been important, but now it's exponentially more important.
Yeah, like I said, this is a good time, especially with the midterms are starting up, I think, right now. And some states are starting right now. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, that's all I got. You got anything else there?
No, I'm not gonna. There's so many loony things that you could cover going on, but no,
These people are unhinged, and some of the things they're doing are just astonishing.
Yeah. And if you don't think so, I dare you to go listen to our last episode talking about the reactions from the left over the Roe versus Wade Supreme Court leak. You really have to go listen to that just to hear some of the things that are happening.
But anyway, until next week, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight.
We're here to win.
Because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you guys next Thursday.
Bye, guys.
Bye.